Hi, I'm Dr. Roger Louis Martinez of the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs, and I'm pleased to give this presentation to the President's Teaching and Learning Collaborative of the University of Colorado. This poster presentation is an exploration of my research in the areas of massive open online courses and crowdsourcing of transcriptions of documents, specifically medieval documents from Spain. Essentially, my research and pedagogical goals center on three fundamental issues. One, how to advance humanistic scholarship in the most expeditious manner given limited human resources. Two, how to engage the broader public in central questions in the humanities, i.e. the nature of medieval interreligious coexistence as a means of advancing the importance of the humanities in public life. And three, how to harness the benefits of rapidly evolving connective technologies, i.e. the internet, online courses, etc. So, as you can see, my intellectual activist bent blends multiple goals that I believe might be the best realized through blending online teaching with MOOCs, as well as attracting large international student bodies. So in this poster presentation, I will lay out how I delivered a summer 2014 MOOC on Coursera.org, and how that MOOC relating to medieval Spain integrated citizen scholars, what I call global citizen scholars, into research. Two, what was the effectiveness in terms of working with everyday individuals to transcribe documents, and three, what are our next steps? These are initial findings, but I'm pleased to report on them. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'd like to especially thank Dr. Marianne Shea at the University of Colorado, who is the director of the program, and I welcome your comments in the YouTube comments field so that we can have an asynchronous discussion about the benefits as well as the limitations of this technology and approach. Thank you. In summer 2014, I developed and delivered a massive open online course on Coursera.org, one of the partners of the University of Colorado. The MOOC was called Deciphering Secrets, Unlocking the Manuscripts of Medieval Spain, and in it, students would explore the history of medieval Spain, its interreligious relationships of Jews, Christians, and Muslims. Second, they would study medieval documents and early modern documents from Spain, the actual manuscripts. And lastly, engage them in the crowdsourcing of manuscripts from the 15th and 16th centuries. Now, crowdsourcing is the key interest that I had here, was how do I energize everyday people from across the globe in this process of discovery? Crowdsourcing, first of all, that we should think about, and this is covered in a Wired magazine for April 2014, is about changing the way we work with each other. So in many ways, this article can point out how we can look at the Occupy movements or what has happened in the Arab Spring or even Ukraine in terms of social media and connectivity that we crowdsource information out. Well, in many ways, another aspect of this kind of crowdsourcing information can be harnessed for the humanities. Some of the characteristics we know that exist out there today is, one, in the digital space, there's this hyperconnectivity, or complete access to the internet, whether that's through phones, computers, or even now watches. There's also a critical mass issue, which is there are over 2.4 billion people on the internet, more than that now in 2015. And lastly, we're using so much time and collective energy on the internet and interacting with each other. So these are the characteristics of this environment we live in. How do we activate and get people excited about it? So to do so, we used the MOOC and used a course trailer to tell the story of medieval Spain and to get people excited. So let's take a look at that course trailer now. Welcome to Deciphering Secrets, Unlocking the Manuscripts of Medieval Spain. I'm Dr. Roger L. Martínez-Davila. In this course, we will explore the history of Plasencia, Spain, during the 14th and 15th centuries. Plasencia was a multicultural community of Jews, Christians, and Muslims. Plasencia was dominated by its cathedral, a cathedral controlled by several families, some of Jewish origin who had converted to Catholicism, as well as Old Christians, or those Christians who acknowledge ancient roots. The cathedral was important because it was the repository of most documents for this community. It is those documents that inspire historians and engage us with new ideas about how other peoples lived in prior times. It is only through these documents that we can unravel what was happening then. We can follow the lives in noble families like the Carvajales. We can explore documents that tell us about how Jewish communities bound together during crisis. And we can learn about important personages like Rabbi Moshe Casas. But none of these individuals or families were islands unto themselves. No, they were dependent on their environment and dependent on each other to make their livelihoods. Whether those were agricultural or livestock resources, all of them provided the necessary things for them to accumulate wealth for themselves, for the church, and their communities. I'm inviting you to the Cathedral of Plasencia. I'm asking you and imploring you to join us as we learn about this history through these manuscripts. Collectively, we will return to the Chapel of St. Paul in the cathedral, where the churchmen will record the events that occurred in their community, as well as all the transactions of the church. What we will find most challenging is understanding the documents, and we will turn to people like Esther Sanchez Calle, the local archivist at the municipality in Plasencia, to help us. She'll guide us in showing us different types of documents, how we examine them, and how we learn to read them, specifically how we will employ paleographic techniques to decipher the texts that are in front of our eyes. Together we will labor to understand these documents and make vital contributions to a new scholarly research project known as Revealing Cooperation and Conflict, an international effort of Swiss, Spanish, and American scholars. In the coming weeks, you'll learn more about the project as well as meet several of the professors that are working on it. Now it's time to unlock doors and unlock secrets as we enter into the Cathedral of Plasencia's archive, and we will explore critical documents such as the Actas Capitulares, or the Capitulary Acts, which detail key elements of the lives of Jews, Christians, and Muslims in Plasencia. Together we will make new discoveries from the 19th century transcription, and some of you may even take on the challenge of working with the original 14th century version. Welcome to the course. So now that you've seen the course trailer, we know that it attracted quite a few people, and let's look at those demographics. So the course demographics were, first, we had 10,600 students from over 143 countries enrolled in the course. Over 2,500 students completed it. Now, we also know that approximately 75% of these persons held a bachelor's or advanced degree, 52% were women, and 48% were men. And we had all age groups kind of represented equally in the course. What's very interesting about this is we're finding that MOOCs are attracting individuals that already have higher education in their past, and they want to continue education. So in this respect, I think of the audience as an educated museum-going population that's interested in participating beyond just viewing of information. Another thing that we can consider is the impact of this. So while 25% of the course a 25% course completion rate may seem relatively low, it can't be underestimated when you put it in a relationship to an individual's entire teaching career. So for example, during my 12-year on-campus teaching career, I calculated that I instructed approximately 1,000 students, that I reach approximately 83 students per year. However, via the MOOC, in just over 3 months, I was able to teach 2,500 students, or the equivalent of 30 years of on-campus teaching. This gives you a strong sense of the impact of this technology and approach. You can also see some elements of these statistics just graphically represented, and I've kind of described this as citizen scholars saving humanity, and that's who I think that these students are. These are everyday individuals from across the world who are interested in saving our history, saving our ideas, and perpetuating them into the future. So you can see just from this Coursera website demographic statistics, you can see that North America is representing 43% of all the people that are participating, but also you can see Asia, South America, and Oceania and Africa were all kind of represented here. Similarly, you can see the range of countries that are involved. The most exciting thing you can see here is over 115,000 lectures were viewed by students. So that means the 10,000 students were watching quite a few of these lectures. That's a tremendous amount of impact. And the way that we did this was using transcription. So you can see on the left-hand side of the screen where we're teaching transcription overall. So how did this actually occur? Well, let's just take a quick peek at it. On this particular video, which you can see is our Paleographic Manual. Paleography is just the study of ancient handwritings. And we use this Paleographic Manual that we designed to show students how to evaluate the manuscripts. And we use several different strategies. One was just beginning with identifying letters that are very recognizable. And by creating videos alongside of the text that we created for our students, then we could show them what we meant. So you can see the green circles here. The green circles represent S's, so we can see sentencia and santa. Likewise, you can see red circles. These are O's that we see here. And in this way, we can kind of point out to students how to look for individual letters. This is just one of the different strategies that was available to us. And we showed these respective strategies across the course through this manual and these videos to get them ready to pursue their work. So now let's go ahead and crowdsource ourselves. I want you to get a sense of how this worked. This is actually a book 1 of the Capitulary Acts from the Cathedral of Plasencia in Spain from 1390 to 1453. Now what you're kind of getting a sense of is that this handwriting is not from the 14th and 15th centuries. This is actually a 19th century, an 18th century copy of the document. So it's a much more readable text. And in this way, you can see how we would kind of guide individuals through reading this text. So for instance, this lower end section describes in the city of Plasencia on the 29th day of May, certain things occurred. And it describes, that this is occurring in Santa Maria Cathedral. Also continues to describe who is working there and that actually it's a lease of houses. So you'll say un solar de casas, casas meaning the word for houses. And then we can also identify where the house was located. At the top of the screen, you can see this word that is Trujillo, Trujillo. That's actually a location in the city. And then specifically what it's rented out for. So a certain number of maravedis, which were silver coins, as well as something else that I'll show you in just a second. So what was quite exciting is we could use the transcription to excite people about discovery. And here we could show them after the course where they were actually transcribing documents. So in the upper left-hand corner, you will see the gate of Trujillo, the Puerta de Trujillo, entering into the medieval city. And you can see this little sign here, Calle de Trujillo, and that's the other, below the Calle de Trujillo sign, you'll see the inside of the wall. So we could already locate where this property was through the transcriptions. And we could also say what things cost. In this particular case, 2 fat chickens, 2 gallinas gordas, were part of the lease agreement. So you actually had to pay a certain number of silver pieces every year, typically about 100 silver pieces depending on the type of property, but often they would charge also a certain number of chickens because of their intrinsic value. So that's how we actually went about the process of getting people excited. Next, we can talk about teaching paleography and its effectiveness. So in terms of this kind of online setting, my colleague, Dr. Anthony Puglisi, who I developed these specific lessons together, we found that basically mostly non-Spanish speakers were able to transcribe Spanish language documents. This is pretty interesting. And this is this idea that essentially, handwriting and characters are really just physical, symbolic representations of language. Thankfully, English, Spanish, German, all of these Romance languages derive, as well as Germanic languages, use this alphabet that is common to us. So if you can read one of those alphabets, then you can actually transcribe documents even if you can't understand them. Also, we learned that via indirect demographic methods, ethnicity, international location of our students, we estimated about 75% of our students had limited or no Spanish language knowledge. So this is also very interesting. Can you have folks that don't necessarily understand a language actually participate in projects that are in another language? And we found that yes, actually that on average, about 90% of our students could actually identify Spanish letters, numerals, and abbreviations if found on the page. And we were able to identify this using techniques through quizzes. So we gave them online quizzes that actually we knew the answers to, and so we could check their recognition ability, as well as use peer evaluation inside the course. Specifically, rubrics were given to students so they could evaluate each individual's specific transcriptions. Some of the really exciting benefits from a research perspective is that we learned that we could teach paleography students and enlist them in crowdsourcing initiatives to actually transcribe a 600-page book from the Cathedral of Plasencia. And over the course of 3 weeks, they transcribed about 90% of the text. And we know that using empirical data from individual paleographic quizzes and student peer evaluation transcriptions, we could assign accuracy and reliability scores to each transcription. So in this way, we can actually go back as researchers, go back and reassemble the text using all the little bits and pieces that people transcribed and use them in our project databases for this revealing cooperation conflict project that was mentioned in the trailer video, and for text mining. So some of our next steps in terms of pedagogy is that we will now continue to engage MOOC students in transcribing new manuscripts. We have a summer 2015 MOOC that's continuing this effort with a new book. We will also develop a palette of different methods of teaching transcription and evaluate their effectiveness based on different types of learners. So for example, like do game-based learning tools that might be actually in an iPhone work better for like digital natives, these younger people, whereas do interactive ebooks that might be available on a Kindle or an iPad, do those work better for the 30-year-olds out there and plus? So we want to actually start testing what works best for each different population in terms of transcribing documents. I think ultimately our next goals for transcription, for teaching MOOCs, as well as our larger project, the Revealing Cooperation Conflict Project, is about reaching out for our common destiny. And this is a quote from Pablo Neruda, who received the Nobel Prize for this work, Toward the Splendid City in 1971, and it's a good one to reflect on. He says, "All paths lead to the same goal, to convey to others what we are. And we must pass through solitude and difficulty, isolation and silence, in order to reach forth to the enchanted place where we can dance our clumsy dance and sing our sorrowful song. But in this dance or in this song there are fulfilled the most ancient rites of our conscience and the awareness of being human, of believing in a common destiny." I think that's the most important element of this pedagogical research and engaging people in MOOCs. It's about learning together about our common history, our common destiny, where we're headed, so that technology can actually be used for really wonderful purposes, that it's not just a device that you spend your time checking email for, but rather using these devices. They interconnect us with each other, actually to learn more about each other. Okay, thank you very much for your time and attention. I look forward to your comments in the YouTube website.